name is Zach Rosenberg. I'm a politics major. I am working at the Counterterrorism Executive Directorate, which is the sort of the implementation secretariat for the Counterterrorism Committee of the Security Council. And I'm actually working for the Senior Human Rights Officer, so I'm dealing a lot with both incitement to terrorism issues, but also how human rights intersects with terrorism and counterterrorism measures. A typical day at the UN is, for me, it's actually a lot like sort of a normal 9-to-5 job. Meet with my supervisor first thing in the morning, and then work on whatever projects need to be done that day. Usually there's some sort of long-term research project involved. Come to class usually between 1:15 and 3. Come back and usually meet with my supervisor again, wrap up any projects, continue researching. It's pretty straightforward. One of the most memorable projects for me was actually looking at modern technology, or rather looking at new forms of mobile technology and how it can be used, A, by terrorists, and B, misused by governments in the course of investigations of terrorism. Specifically looking at cell phones and the increasing array of technologies and abilities that they have and how they can be misused by both terrorists and governments. I would definitely say that it's given me a better practical take on how international relations work. I mean, it's one thing to study things in a classroom and talk about what all these organizations do, but until you're really inside of the United Nations and sort of are dealing with all of the acronyms, dealing with all the different departments, learning about things you've never even heard of, you don't really get a sense of what it really means to work for one of these institutions or what it takes to make one of these institutions function. I did participate in the campaign semester program my sophomore year, so I was working on a political campaign in the United States. Then Congressman Tom Udall was running for Senate in 2008, and so I was working out of his main office in Albuquerque doing a lot of field coordination and assisting with the Get Out the Vote effort by the end. In some ways prepared me for the UN and the intensity of the program, and that you're working potentially 20-hour days when you're writing a paper at night, working the normal internship hours, and then also going to class. One of the biggest things is not to prejudge anyone at the UN or the institution as a whole until you've really had a chance to work within the United Nations. That really you can't begin to appreciate just how hard everyone works. And the institution itself is not necessarily prone to being, it's not an organization that we interact with every day, but it has profound implications on everything that happens throughout the globe. One thing I would like to say to anyone who's probably watching this and considering going on the UN program is I would strongly encourage you to consider it, especially if you're not a diplomacy and world affairs major. I know that we talked about this back at Oxy before I even left, that there just aren't many people who aren't in DWA that participate in the program. But I think that regardless of whether it's your major or your focus, there's a lot to be learned on this program, and it really is an incredibly rewarding experience, whether you see that as being part of your final career goal or not. My favorite part of working, of this particular semester is definitely the internship. I've enjoyed learning about counterterrorism, and truth be told, it was something that I've never really had any experience with academically or in any practical sense. So for me, it was really learning everything from the ground up, and I've really appreciated that. And also the opportunity to live in New York, which is a place I'd never been in for more than maybe 2 or 3 days at a time, was also very enjoyable. Having grown up in New Mexico and then going to school in LA, I've never really had access to a mass transit system for any length of time. So the fact that I haven't really had to drive a car for 3 months has been a welcome change.